Coming up on Global Business, Chinese President Xi Jinping stresses efforts to promote the building of beautiful China featuring human-nature harmony. China issues guidelines vowing to increase policy support for the private economy. And China saw a rapid increase of newly established foreign invested enterprises in the first half of the year. Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Guan Xing in Beijing. And first up in the program, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Cambodian King Norodom Sihamoni have exchanged congratulations on the 65th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries. She noted that China-Cambodia relations have continuously enriched bilateral ties. President Xi highly regards the development of China-Cambodia relations and stands ready to work with the Cambodian king to forge relations for the benefits of the two countries and their peoples. King Norodom Sihamoni said he's willing to strengthen cooperation with China for the benefit of the two peoples and promote regional and global peace, stability, and prosperity. On the same day, Chinese Premier Li Qiang and Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen also exchanged congratulations. And Chinese President Xi Jinping has underscored the importance of promoting the establishment of a beautiful China in all respects and pushing forward modernization that embodies the harmonious relationship between humanity and nature. He made remarks during a national conference on ecological and environmental preservation held from Monday to Tuesday.
President Xi emphasized that the upcoming 5 years are a critical phase for the development of a beautiful China. He noted that China's economy and society have entered a stage of high-quality development marked by faster progress in promoting green and low-carbon growth. President Xi called for a higher standpoint, a broader perspective, and stronger efforts in planning and advancing ecological and environmental protection. He stressed the need to effectively manage the correlation between high-quality development and robust protection, the balance between addressing significant challenges and coordinating governance, and the interplay between natural recovery and human-assisted restoration. He also stressed balancing external constraints and internal driving forces, as well as dual carbon commitments and self-determined actions. President Xi urged a combination of efforts on legal, market, technological, and policy fronts. He called for enhanced support in fiscal and financial domains, as well as in tax and pricing policies, and highlighted the importance of bolstering scientific and technological assistance.
And Chinese Premier Li Qiang has met with visiting U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate John Kerry in Beijing. Kerry is wrapping up a 4-day visit to China to discuss climate cooperation. During his trip, Kerry also met with senior Chinese diplomat Wang Yi and his Chinese counterpart Xie Zhenhua. And Dong Xue has more from Beijing.
Kerry will be wrapping up his visit to Beijing today, and he is scheduled to meet with the press before he leaves the country. On Kerry's trip, he has met with the Chinese Premier Li Qiang yesterday, the second highest ranking Chinese official. And noting that the global response to climate change is an arduous task, Li called for practicing multilateralism and adherence to the goals and principles set out in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Paris Agreement in 2015. Li also called for sharing scientific and technological achievements and promoting global green and low-carbon transmissions, urging developed countries to give more technological support to developing countries. And Kerry also has met with the senior Chinese diplomat Wang Yi, telling him that President Joe Biden's administration is very committed to stabilizing relations between the world's two biggest economies as they seek to restart all these high-level contacts. And in his opening remarks, Wang said that both sides had suffered from a lack of communication, but that China believes through all this renewed dialogue, quote unquote, they could find a proper solution to any problems. He added that the dialogue must be conducted on an equal basis.
A green building in Beijing showcases the clean energy cooperation between China and the United States. The building, which belongs to the China Academy of Building Research, or CABR, is an example of near-zero energy consumption. Our reporter Wang Tianyu recently paid a visit to the building. Take a look.
A 4-story office building may never catch someone's eye, but this one has something special. the nearly zero energy building built by CABR almost achieves what its name speaks of, using zero energy. Completed in 2014, the demonstration building is a result of China-US cooperation. It uses some of the most advanced energy-saving technologies from both China and the United States. As a person with huge interest but very little knowledge on the science of things, I decided to let an expert explain the building's secrets. He first took me to a meeting room in the penthouse.
These very beautiful lights are very different. It doesn't like normal lighting system. It doesn't use any types of energy.
Well, they're lights. How come?
I'll show you on the roof of the building.
Okay, when he took me to the rooftop, and then everything looks making sense.
This is a solar tube which collecting the light, sending it to indoors. This shape is very special to maximum the lighting intake from the sun. And the material is very special because the reflection rate is very high. It's over 98%, which means only 2% of the light reduced during the transmission.
Well, the sunshine not only lights up the building, but also cools it down. It's over 40 degrees Celsius down here in Beijing, and I bet at least half of the ACs in the resident building are running, and they're using electricity. But in this building, part of the cooling air are generated by the solar systems down here.
This collector collects the thermal energy of the sun and the heat the water will circulate here to 90 degrees C almost in this season. And this hot water will go to a very special devices. It's called solar-driven air conditioner, which generates cold water using this very hot water.
So the cold is generated by the hot.
Yeah, you can say that.
Achieving nearly zero energy consumption is complicated. The building's design, construction materials, and controlling system also help. Yu said, from 2016 to 2020, China has built 13 million square meters of this kind of nearly zero energy buildings. The area is equal to about 1,800 football fields. And from 2020 to 2025, the country aims to build another 50 million square meters of that. Wang Tianyu, CGTN, Beijing.
And now for more insights on China-U.S. ties and climate cooperation, let's bring in Zhu Chunquan, head of Nature Initiatives Greater China at World Economic Forum. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Zhu. So, U.S. climate envoy John Kerry is wrapping up his 4-day visit. In your opinion, what has been achieved and how much will it improve the overall China-U.S. relationship?
John Kerry's 3-day visit to China makes a significant moment in the relationship between the world's two largest economies, emphasize the importance of the constructive engagement in addressing crucial global issues like climate change. Yeah, as you know, in the past 3 years, the World Economic Forum's risk report identified that the climate change-related risks are the biggest one, including the extreme weather, failure of mitigation, and adaptation of climate change. Kerry's visit to foster mutual understanding between China and the United States, while also advance the implementation of Paris Agreement, especially the Sino-US joint Glasgow Declaration of enhancing climate action in the 2020s. Yeah.
But Doctor, right now the two countries are having a very testy relationship. How might other differences affect efforts between the two largest economies to work together on climate change?
Yeah, as we welcome the progress made during John Kerry's visit to China in enhancing climate collaboration and also other areas, it is important to also recognize that the difference between China and the U.S. in other areas also could impact the collaboration effect on the subsequent issues like the climate change. In this context, for example, technical cooperation and the transfer, especially the energy sectors, including coal utilization technology and renewable energy development, as well as cooperation between companies, the business from China and the United States. Energy-related investment and trade, and also so could all be influenced by various degree, either like directly or indirectly. We need to take a consideration how to improve the overall relationship between China and the United States.
Right. And looking ahead, how do you see the China-U.S. collaboration on climate issues developing in the near future? Can we expect more substantive cooperation?
Yeah, there are like a broad scope of area possible to led by China and the U.S. For example, in the area of renewable energy, like a collaboration in the field of renewable energy stand as like a cornerstone of future climate efforts between these two countries. Like China and also U.S. has also like ambitious target for like developing renewable energy, and the big progress made in China and also in the States. So I think this area is the top area. For example, solar energy and wind energy, and also the biomass and our area. I think this is the top priority for two countries to demonstrate how to lead the world to do the renewable energy like in development in the future. Other area like the agricultural method like reduction. So by implementing innovative technologies and also improving like livestock manual management, China and the United States can significantly decrease massive emission from the agriculture sectors. I think this also can share and learn each other, also like demonstrated and show the leadership to the rest of the world. And the third area is the deforestation issues, like how to reduce the agriculture soft commodity related like tropical forest deforestation that affect the like climate change, carbon emission, and also the capability of carbon sequestration. And China-U.S. collaboration can really make a big change, a big deal in the world. And also China-U.S. and also recently China-Brazil and also China, like U.S.-Brazil collaboration. I think this area we should like promote in the future. And also the ecosystem restoration for how to restore the natural ecosystem. For instance, both China and the U.S. play a leading role for the 1 trillion tree initiative. That's, I think, also the area, for example, China's special climate island, like Xie Zhenhua, announced China's commitment to planting, protecting, and restore 17 billion trees by 2030, and also the similar commitment from the states. And the numbers of American company and the Chinese company also join this effort. I think in the future also be like a area collaborate between two countries and also with other regions, for example, Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. Yeah.
Right, China-U.S. leadership will be vital to the global efforts to tackle climate change. Thank you so much for your insights. That was Zhu Chunquan, head of Nature Initiatives Greater China at the World Economic Forum for us. Well, senior Chinese diplomat Wang Yi has met with former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger in Beijing. And Wang praised Kissinger's historic contribution to the ice-breaking development of China-U.S. relations. He said China's policy towards the U.S. maintains a high degree of continuity and follows the fundamental guidelines proposed by President Xi Jinping of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation. He also said the U.S. should take practical actions to oppose Taiwan independence forces if it really wants to see stability in the region. Kissinger said he cares deeply about China-U.S. relations and supports recent efforts by both sides to improve relations. A business forum was held on Wednesday to help promote understanding and economic cooperation between China and Algeria. Over 100 representatives from companies from both China and Algeria attended the event. They discussed how to implement partnership projects for both countries, took part in 3 sub-forums related to mining, infrastructure, and technology. The event comes during Algerian president's visit to China, his first since taking office. Algerian foreign minister addressed the forum and expressed his hope that the business cooperation between the two sides can continue growing.
Algeria attaches great importance to economic cooperation with China. Algeria is a hot ground for investment in fields like agriculture, new energy, and infrastructure. We hope that both Algeria and China can further expand trade and economic development in the future.
And now we're heading for a short break. Still to come on the program. China issues guidelines vowing to increase policy support for the private economy.
We are all connected. Across borders, across continents, connected by ideas, a shared humanity. Stay connected.
And now we take a look at China's private economy. The country will increase policy support for the private sector according to joint guidelines from the Communist Party of China's Central Committee and the State Council released on Wednesday. With 8 categories and 33 regulations, the guidelines provide various measures to promote the economic development of the private economy, including improving the market-oriented reorganization plan, encouraging private enterprises to revitalize existing assets and recover funds, encouraging private firms to revitalize their stock of assets, increasing investment in research and development, which indicates that the country sees the private sector as a new force for promoting Chinese-style modernization and an important foundation for high-quality development. Now, to get more insights on China's private economy, we're joined by Zhou Mi, Senior Research Fellow at the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Zhou. So, to what extent do you think these measures can help improve the confidence of the private sector?
We know that for this kind of file, it's a very important one. First of all, it has sent our very clear signals to the market that the country is trying to promote the environment, not only for the certain type of economies, but for all, including the private sector. Actually, in the past several years, there are some discussion in the market that maybe the government is not trying to protect or trying to support the development of private sectors. Well, this file has made it very clear that the government is trying to support them also. And second, I think that this file is trying to address the challenges that the private sectors are facing, including the credit environment and also the market access and different things. It's trying to improve the environment for them to develop. And the third of all is that the government is trying to not only to identify the private sector as one special kind of economies. They can just coexistence with SOEs, state-owned enterprises, and they can try to also compete with other economies like, from FDIs, they can compete equally. That is a very fair environment for them to go to work and in such a kind of environment.
And what is your observation of the private sector in the first half of the year? What role has it played in China's economic rebound?
Actually, they are very active in trying to address the new challenges and trying to explore the possibilities of opportunities. We see the private sectors are trying to expand their market, not only in China, but also in foreign markets. So in this regard, they are very sensitive about the change of the market, and they are trying to use their own energy and the decision advantages with a very quick process to trying to find the opportunities and also cooperate with other economies and trying to get benefit from that.
Thank you for your analysis, Mr. Zhou. Please stay with us for more discussion later in the program. Now, in the first half of this year, China's business operation showed an overall trend of recovery with stable progress in high-quality development, and that's according to China's Vice Minister of Commerce, Guo Tingting, at the press conference on Wednesday. Guo said in the first half of the year, total retail sales of consumer goods reached 22.8 trillion yuan, around $3.2 trillion with a year-on-year increase of 8.2%. The catering and new energy vehicle sectors were both growth highlights. And Guo said China will continue to host a series of consumption promotion campaigns, stimulate the purchase of vehicles, promote high-quality growth in the catering sector, and realize the digitalization of livelihood services. In the face of sluggish demand from international markets, officials said China will continue to promote trade and attract foreign investment.
Will implement convenient visa processing for business travelers, expand international flights, and increase the frequency of flights. Will also ensure the successful organization of important exhibitions. In terms of foreign investment, will continue to promote the reduction of negative lease of foreign investment, implement the mechanism of foreign enterprises roundtable conferences, and maintain regular communication and exchanges with foreign enterprises.
Meanwhile, the official of the Ministry of Commerce also said China's non-financial outbound direct investment went up 22.7% on a yearly basis to 432 billion yuan. Meanwhile, some 24,000 new foreign firms established themselves in China, marking a 36% rise year-on-year. And foreign direct investment in actual use dipped to 2.7% on a yearly basis to 704 billion yuan during the January to June period. And now, for more discussions on China's trade performance, let's bring back Zhou Mi, Senior Research Fellow at the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation. So, Mr. Zhou, what are the main takeaways from China's trade data in the first half of this year? And looking ahead, what will be the drivers of China's trade growth?
We know that from this press, we know that it's a very interesting fact that at the beginning of this year, we have foreseen this pressure. You know that the world is under very big uncertainty, and we see that especially the foreign market, they are not so strong. So in this regard, I think that for the first half of this year, the performance of the international trade is apparently okay for me to do some prediction. While when we see the stabilities of the international trade, we also see the share increase in the first season of this year, and we see some new trend of the new products like the e-vehicles and also the solar panels, some other kind of new products that reflect the change of the structure of the market. Well, for the next half of the year, I think that we're still trying to improve the stability and the predictability of the trade, not only by us, but also cooperate with other countries to meet their demand and also sometimes to improve their qualities of the import.
Well, thank you so much for your analysis. That was Zhou Mi, Senior Research Fellow at the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation for us. And now for a look at some bulletins in China. A fresh report from the Asian Development Bank shows on Wednesday that China's economy is bolstering growth in Asia and Pacific. The outlook for China's economy this year is still 5% growth, thanks to strong domestic demand in the services sector. And China plans to further open up its manufacturing sector as well as its information and communication technology sector. And that's according to a press conference held by the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology on Wednesday. The spokesperson also said that China will boost digital cooperation and governance with international institutions and multinational platforms. And China's Finance Ministry said the country's fiscal revenue witnessed a substantial growth of 13.3% year-on-year in the first half, reaching over 11.9 trillion yuan. The fiscal spending for the same period increased 3.9% compared with last year. Meanwhile, the Chinese regulators have just finalized rules governing generative AI to ramp up oversight of the rapidly growing technology. Our Yin Junyi explains how the rules work.
Scheduled to take effect on August the 15th, the new rules will only apply to generative AI services that are available to the general public in China, rather than to those being developed in research institutions. They call for service providers to conduct security assessments on their products, ensure that user information is secure, and prevent the generation of illegal content. all operators of generative AI services will have to prove compliance with the regulations in order to obtain a license to operate. Experts believe the regulations will prevent risks that AI systems could pose, while supporting the development of this burgeoning sector.
Generative AI services are trained on vast amounts of data. If you don't keep a close eye on them, they might generate content that infringes on personal privacy or causes other illegal actions. That would certainly harm the tech firms behind those services, and so the new rules are to encourage those companies to develop the innovative use of generative AI in a proper fashion.
Many Chinese firms have already jumped on the AI bandwagon, including Alibaba and Baidu. Online travel agency Trip.com has also announced a ChatGPT-like service, which can make travel plans based on users' needs ideas. How to protect user information has already become the priority for them when it comes to the new technology.
Our AI model is designed to obtain data from online platforms, but it will only collect necessary user information. For example, when people use our AI service to book hotels in Shanghai which meet their needs, our AI model will not collect information like users' ID card number or their contact information.
This is not all just about publishing new rules. Experts say some existing regulations will also need updating.
For example, say someone uses an AI program to create an image or a business logo. We need to think about whether it could lead to copyright infringement or not. We have already seen some lawsuits in this area. And we're always talking about AI takeover. AI services might gradually replace humans in some technical aspects of some work. Then we need to think about whether the existing regulations can be applied to the change. Should we improve those regulations when facing the arrival of new technology? That's of great importance.
To further improve the regulations, the Cyberspace Administration of China says it will also urge generative AI service providers to participate in the formulation of international rules and standards regarding the new technology. Ying Junyi, ICS for CGTN, Shanghai.
And that will do it for this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. Thank you for being with us. The Point with Liu Xin is coming up next. Stay tuned.